another exciting episode of UFO in the Know. Tonight we're talking about government conspiracies and various nefarious things the U.S. government has been up to over the years. And
everything they don't want you to know.
Exactly. I'm here with my good friends Scott Tadlock and Joe Finch, and they are joining me to discuss some of these conspiracies that I've done a little digging. I would say baseline digging. I didn't go to the government archives to go learn about this. I just did your basic internet research, and I'll tell you what I've learned about mostly the CIA. I'll say out front, but some of has been the entire U.S. government. But I'll go into it. Let me introduce my friends. Scott.
Hello.
What is your
interest? How are you? Hey, so I think our background stems back to, I think the year was 1999 or 2000. I think when we first met in middle school. And I think ever since then we kind of been fighting crime together. And then that goes with Joe as well. So we've known each other for a couple of decades now.
I knew Joe before that. I knew Joe in grade school.
Yeah.
We went to Baser Elementary School, and then you were a Linwood kid,
right?
And so we met you in middle school.
Yeah, Joe and I met in the 7th grade, and I think I actually started talking to him before I was talking to you. And how we met was Joe was wearing a Bulbasaur shirt in class, and I said, I see you like Pokemon. And then from there, we hit it off.
Yeah, I think we were just friends.
Yeah, we've been trading Pokemon since then. So I think I still have my pencil from middle school.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice.
Uh-huh. Well, it's good for you guys to join me on this discussion on the conspiracy world. I have to warn you, the conspiracy world gets dark and crazy and depressing really quick if you go into it too deep. These are just some conspiracies that almost are not even conspiracies anymore, or almost like conspiracy fact. These are things that have been laid out in black and white and are in the CIA archives. It's not anything that's that secret, so it'll sound crazy, but it won't go full bore, super cuckoo cray cray just yet. But maybe later on we'll dive into stuff like that. But I'll start with my slideshow. I like to lay out what I've learned in the form of a slideshow. And this slideshow I've titled "The World is a Stage," because I think what you'll learn from this slideshow, or get the impression, is that there's some larger forces at work that work behind the scenes of what is laid out to us as going on in public media, widespread media, and maybe this widespread media that we see as a stage for them to basically lead us along.
Are you saying we're all puppets, Luke?
Yeah, I was going to use have you guys heard of the allegory of Plato's cave?
No, I've heard of Plato, though.
So Plato wrote this short it's more like an essay, but it's called The Allegory of the Cave, and it's about these people that live in a cave, and they don't know anything about the outside world, but there's people behind sort of a embankment or something in the cave where they are casting shadows on the walls with a fire. And so the people think that their world is these characters on the wall in the shadows. But when somebody goes outside the cave, somebody escapes the cave and realizes that's not the real world. The real world is outside. And then they go back to tell everybody and everybody doesn't want to believe them because they'd rather believe the world of the cave than this new, overwhelming reality that's outside the cave.
It's just like M. Night Shyamalan's The Village.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it is. Good. Yeah, almost is. So, okay, so I started this sort of line of research with a question. How much fucked up secret squirrel shit has the U.S. government actually been involved with? And so secret squirrel is kind of a term we used when I was in the Navy and the military to surrounding things that basically had a secrecy around it that were government classified secrets. And so you knew if you were talking about it, maybe you should leave some stuff out, some details, and not why somebody's not mentioning certain detail. Okay, so I've looked into U.S. intelligence operations of an ethically dubious nature. These are things that are pretty well known. Like, if you did even just a little research, it'd be easy to find. Well, Operation Mockingbird, I'll say this isn't one of the most well-known ones, but it's somewhat well-known. And this is a CIA program basically to plant puppets into certain media corporations, newspapers, television news, mainstream news, magazines, to basically control the narrative and let their own agents decide what we can learn about what's going on in the world. And I have this video in this slide. It's a testimony of Congress. The CIA is basically, the Congress is asking them about this operation they did. And I'll play it here.
I thought that it was a matter of real concern that planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home and were circulated here and believed here, because this would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. Now, we're looking at that very carefully.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
At CBS, we have been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole news and public affairs operation in 1954, and ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
We have quite a lot of detailed information, and we will evaluate it, and we will include any evidence of wrongdoing or any evidence of impropriety in our final report and make recommendations.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I prefer to handle in executive session.
Senator, do you think you named any problem
that remains to be decided.
I think it was entirely in order for our correspondence at that time to make use of the CIA agent chief's station and other members of the executive staff of CIA as sources of information which were useful in their assessments of world conditions.
you say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter who continued today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Okay, so basically what we looked at was the CIA testimony to Congress saying, they're asking him, do you have agents in our various news agencies? The newspapers, he outright said yes. And
I thought that it was a matter of
the other questions he said he would like to answer behind closed doors, which I think is probably a yes, because I think he would just say no if it was a no.
Mm-hmm.
And
you would think, yeah.
I think that sort of begs the question then, are they still doing that? And the CBS, let me say this to the CBS News chief says he uses the CIA as a news source as to keep him informed on what's going on in the world, right? Which seems reasonable. But if the CIA isn't being honest, then you could be led along, right? So, and that sort of begs the question that, now we have in our Trump era, Trump's second term era, Mr. Fake News, fake news, fake news. How much is fake news and how much is just not? I'll let you guys.
No, I think there's definitely a fine line there on the truth factor, which it's really hurt the trust of a lot of Americans. And, I'm not a political analyst by any means, nor can I say the word. But from what I gather, though, I think a lot of people are tired of being lied to, or they feel that they're being lied to. And, hell, that's probably where it all stems from. Is that moment that you just shared, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a hearing to Congress, just like we have our UFO hearings now. That's what they had hearings on before, and it may have not resulted on anything, but at least people knew that's going on. It's public knowledge. And you're right. So if they knew in the 1970s that was going on, and nobody ever said they stopped. Nobody ever said, "Oh yeah, we're done doing that, guys." Nobody said that.
No, I think that mistrust has been passed down from generation to generation to generation, and I also think it's in pop culture, and which also influences people to believe a certain way or to think a certain way.
Yeah,
it's easy with the technology nowadays to sway an audience in a way that we don't even know or understand, especially with social media, subliminal marketing, as well as AI and actual fake news, and like you said, any even up to the president, including anything can be represented. Somebody can be represented in a way that with something that's never happened.
Well, I think that's why Trump won in the first place, is he had a social media campaign backing him, and he basically had he had like a team of just social media guys just churning out social media content for him for the first term, and it worked for him clearly. So that's an easy way to sway the news. You don't even need to pay money to do that. You can just create an account and share stuff.
Well, it was an excellent strategy for him to sway voters.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And then Biden had once talked about which, obviously about banning TikTok. And then in the same breath, he turns around in an effort to connect to young voters. He posts a thing on TikTok. Like, he starts to post his own TikTok videos, which is fucking ridiculous because you're 80 years old. Like, get off of TikTok, Grandpa.
Yeah, he looks like a corpse.
Skeletor.
It reminds me of Weekend at Bernie's when he looks like a Weekend at Bernie's.
Absolutely. Anybody
Because
can
how
die
the
on
way
an
to
airplane.
connect.
Yeah. And then, the next week after the TikTok video probably didn't go so well as he hoped. They went ahead and kept the agenda of getting rid of the TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, they had the Biden robot do the TikTok speech, and then they shot up real Biden with amphetamines, and he got up and he said some shit, and then he.
Yeah, it's kind of like speed. Like, he can't go past a certain limit, or he's going to blow up or die.
Yeah, they just gotta shoot him
him
up with a little amphetamines. Just enough to get him up and say some stuff, and then
get him back down. Get him back to bed.
Yeah. All right, time to go back to bed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Grandpa. I'm gonna ban TikTok. Okay, Grandpa. Let's get you back to bed.
He doesn't even remember he gave a TikTok. He don't.
No, I was talking about Tic Tacs.
Oh yeah, TikTok. Yeah.
Oh, you do that Tic Tac?
You
Chinese
kids and your
Tic
Tic Tacs. So
That's where you get cooked. We cooking.
which, by the way, be sure to follow us on TikTok.
I could post this on TikTok. I do have a TikTok for this.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
I do.
We'll figure that out.
Let me just move on
what
to
else
the
you
next
got?
slide. It gets even darker. So let me just go into some background on this, okay? So Brown Brothers Harriman, investment firm, funded the Nazi regime, and they also funded the CIA, right? And so after World War II, which I think recently they even came out with documents that Hitler and a lot of his staff moved to South America. That's a side note. This is not what I'm talking about. The Operation Paperclip is an acknowledged thing that happened after World War II. They took a lot of these Nazi officers and scientists and people in their regime that were useful, and they gave them positions, sometimes high-level positions, in the U.S. government. And they said that these people weren't acting on their Nazi ideals. And Werner von Braun, he was the NASA head for a while, which I worked for NASA, so I kind of learned a little bit about him. And he says that he had not shared the Nazi ideals and that he just wanted to build rockets to go to space. Well, okay, but you guys recruited 1,000 German, scientists to come work for the U.S. government. At least some of those, either the 1,000, had to be the bad racist Nazis, right? Like, not all of them were just gung-ho, like, freedom, equality people, right? So I think that begs the question was, like, what's the motives? And I think one of these guys went on to work for the World Economic Forum, which has been tied in a lot of conspiracies. And another thing I want to mention, too, is I think I think Goebbels was the propaganda chief of the Nazi regime, and Goebbels had kind of mastered this psychological manipulation advertisement technique, and American advertising agencies adopted those techniques later on after that. So he was likely his methods, or somebody that knew his methods, was recruited, and you have to wonder what was the motive behind this. Like how much use did they really provide to us versus the I don't know, the risk of, I don't know, contaminating your government with Nazis and Nazi ideals and people that whether they, even if they did it intentionally or not, maybe they just had some internal biases that guided them. And so, what was what was the use in this? What was the overall use? And I don't know. I know Werner von Braun, he was key in getting us to the moon, which I do think we went to the moon. He was key in our rocketry program, but what else did they do? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It seems pretty dark to me. It seems bad.
Well, I could be mistaken, but it seems like the majority were German scientists, engineers, and technicians.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. True.
Particularly for the military and aerospace research. I think isn't that what Oppenheimer is kind of about? I didn't watch all of Oppenheimer. It's kind of a long movie.
Oppenheimer was a Jew. He left. He was.
Oh, okay, my mistake.
He was not. That's why he came to us, because they persecuted the Jews.
Well, isn't that interesting? You have Jews coming to America to work for the government in a safe environment, but then they're also hiring Nazis at the same time. So
you're right. Yeah. Yes, the Nazi. What if the Nazi ends up being the Jew's boss or something? And
my boss is a Nazi. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a joke.
But still, like, you don't want a Nazi making like large scale decisions about what your government's going to do, right? If people had known that at the time, they'd been mad. They would have been furious, because we had just gone over there to go kill those Nazis, and why are we letting them be in charge of us?
Or responsible for high level projects.
Yeah, high level decisions. No.
Yeah.
Not a good look. Not a good look, CIA guys. Starting to look bad for you guys, CIA. What if we have a NSA agent that has to watch our stuff and make sure we're not talking about something bad?
Well, yeah. That's not to say there's not moderators on Twitch that are watching what you say. I'm just kidding.
Are?
No, I don't. No, probably not.
Oh.
We're fine.
Yeah. But that's kind of the latest conspiracy word, is that now that the UFO topic is hot, they're saying that some of the UFO YouTubers might be influenced by CIA.
Really?
Yeah, paid shills.
Now they're contaminating our YouTube?
Yeah, because that's where everybody's going now for their information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we don't know who's the spy, who's the paid CIA spy. I could be the spy.
Yeah. Well, we're not supposed to tell people, but the CIA actually put us to this to do this video. Yeah, this was all. This microphone was given to us by the United States government.
I'm not a CIA spy, but are you a CIA spy?
Somebody in this room is a spy.
Are you, Joe? Are you a CIA double agent?
Not to my recollection.
Okay. All right, I'll keep going. All right. Okay, Tuskegee experiment. This is not a conspiracy at all. President Obama apologized for this. Basically, the U.S. Public Health Service, so this is not CIA or FBI, this is somebody that's supposed to be watching out for all of our health. So, I guess 600 black men, that they already had syphilis. They didn't give them syphilis, but what they did was they gave them a fake treatment for syphilis and then monitored the progress of their untreated syphilis to see what it would happen, which is pretty awful. I read the symptoms a while ago. It's pretty bad, but they basically go insane and pretty unethical. I don't know what to say there. I feel like the government, they say they've moved on. They don't do stuff like this, but I guess what I will say to this is I feel like the nefarious forces that do some of these super unethical things, it seems like they can go use any arm of the government as they want. They could use the Department of Energy. They could use the U.S. Public Health Service. They could use any branch that's supposed to be watching out for us could be weaponized against us at the same time. And this is a case of that. It's weaponized against these black men because at the time they viewed that was okay because they were simply black. And
so your bottom tagline there, did you see that? Did you read it out loud? Basically, it was saying that it was the media, it was their news coverage that caused such terrible actions. I think it's crazy because, originally we were talking about false media and how the media can be fake and they have this fake news and, it almost gives this stigma of the media and that, they are untruthful and they're trying to hurt us or whatever. But in that instance, though, they were acting they saved the day. They were kind of the heroes of that situation. And, without them,
let me preface that tagline for a second. I didn't speak on it, but that was a time decades ago when we actually had real journalists that would go investigate companies and things like that and bring them to light. And I feel like that has died down. That is not what we see anymore. You don't see a journalist that's going to investigate a company and find wrongdoing, or even the federal government. That I don't see that happening very much anymore.
So that's not really a thing anymore, is what you're saying.
Yeah, journalists that'll go investigate some sort of government conspiracy. But if you go on Netflix, they have a couple conspiracy documentaries where it seems like a couple of journalists implicated the government, and one I'll talk about it's related to MK Ultra and Charles Manson, but another one is related to basically they just stole somebody's software and killed them or something outright. It's really dark. They stole this software and used it to steal money and killed the people involved, and it's called the Octopus Murders or something like that on Netflix. But that's the kind of stuff that people should be invested in, because some of the stuff the federal government has done, you'll learn that it is pretty dark. At some point, maybe early on in the 40s or 50s, they felt like if it was worthwhile to kill somebody, they would. If it was protecting state secrets and they had to kill somebody, they would do it, no question. So That's the stuff that I think the government, or people should be investigating and be in the news, but that won't be put in the news.
Yeah, it's all about hard facts, right?
Yeah.
They can't go off of speculation.
Yeah, true that too. Yeah, but you can go off of witness testimony. If people said they were involved, if somebody says they've been a victim of a crime, you can cover that.
Mm-hmm.
Or
at the same time, though, you could report your car stolen, and the police can only do so much about it.
Yeah, but if you have several corroborating witnesses of some sort of thing the government has done, then that's worth coverage. I think that's what we're talking about.
I agree.
This next one is not a conspiracy. This is called Project COINTELPRO by the...
So, let me ask you this, Luke. That mattress, this is a scene from The Barbarian, correct?
No.
Didn't see that one?
I'll explain that. I'll explain that mattress. So the FBI, basically it was, they deemed all these liberal groups as subversive to the government, and their mission was to infiltrate and basically just destroy these organizations in any way they could. And it was, of course, the anti-Vietnam protesters, civil rights protesters. I read white supremacist groups, but I also read it was just the left-wing ones, but I'm not for sure. But for sure it was the civil rights people, the anti-Vietnam people got hit pretty hard with this. This mattress is the scene after the FBI and the police basically shot this Black Panther leader, Fred Hampton, while he was in bed sleeping. And, of course they could have arrested him, it seems like, but they just outright just blew him away with no conscience. And that's kind of it. And there's speculation, too, that they killed Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. There's no proof that they did do it, but there's no proof that they didn't do it either. So that's all I have to say about that. But I guess that also begs the question, too. We can move on to, I feel like with every one of these, we can analyze this and say, is this going on today? Are they somehow infiltrating groups like, I think we have like Antifa? Would they do something like that with Antifa, or even some of these right-wing groups, like these militia people? It seemed like that'd be a good target to infiltrate those people. If you got militia people, get some FBI agents in there to, influence them somehow. How much do you think that is going on today? Or
with the FBI specifically?
No, I mean not just the FBI, but this sort of project. This project COINTELPRO to infiltrate and discredit, destroy any groups they deemed extremist. Who would be the extremist groups today of our modern times? And do you think they have infiltrated those groups?
I don't think so, personally.
I mean, the only one that comes to mind for me is like Antifa. I think that would be a prime target. Like they were talking about during these protests, like they would leave out these pallets of bricks and stuff and try to encourage violence within these sort of protests like we had during the pandemic and stuff. No, you don't think there's anything to that?
Yeah, I don't know enough to disprove it, honestly.
It's almost kind of just hearsay at this point. I don't see it. I haven't seen video. I mean, I think I might have seen some TikTok thing or something about it. But at this point, it's just like TikTok hearsay. I feel like. But I don't know. We'll leave that as a speculation. Are they doing that? I think so, but no proof. No way to prove
I don't know. I mean, I feel like if it would have to be super hush hush, obviously, and I don't know how often or how likely it is. I should say I don't know how likely it is to get away with that under the radar without someone or the media, social media, without somebody noticing and posting a video of some sort.
Well, I've noticed. I've seen like during I'm right by DC, and I watch on the news, and they have these protests, and I think I mentioned to you before I was watching one during the pandemic, I think, and they're having the first Trump administration, they were having a protest, and these guys come out and they have these black baklavas on. You could only see their eyes. You have black hoodies, black clothes, and they have these riot batons. And they start going down all the alleyway of businesses and start bashing out all their windows, like one after the other. And that to me seemed like that's a clear plan. That's a guy that's trying to amp up the violence. And
did you say anything to anybody?
I saw it on TV. I
saw it on TV.
Yeah, I didn't see
I
it
thought you were like at a rally.
No, I just saw it on the news. I just saw it on the local news. I was like, that's really strange.
If you see it, report it.
Yeah. Well, it was reported. It was on the news.
Yeah. It's like a a corporate, like an Amazon warehouse when I worked there.
I was gonna say, well, that's valid then if the news was reporting on it.
Yeah, it was a reporter on, but it was not confirmed that was a agent provocateur within the government. It was just very suspicious. Next, this is a fun one. Okay, so the CIA has done a lot of work to try to perfect mind control. And one of their ways they started out doing this was LSD. At one point, they bought almost the entire world supply of LSD, and they were doing experiments a lot of times on unwitting prisoners, mental patients, prostitutes, drug addicts, basically people that nobody cares about. And basically most of that world supply, a lot of it got out to the public, and it was just kind of freely accessible to most people. And we grew up in Kansas, and that's not there's probably not a big drug movement into Kansas, but I imagine you probably still get LSD. In fact, my uncle who grew up in Kansas did get LSD. And because the CIA had released it across the country somehow they lost a bunch of it and ended up in everybody's hands.
All right, well, let's get to the important piece here, Luke. What did they do to our LSD?
What did they do to it?
Did they put chips?
No.
Devices?
No, at first they thought the LSD
trying to control
itself.
Our brains.
They would dose people with LSD, and they would at first they try these experiments where they keep them in kind of like a drug coma. They would play these tapes over and over again to try to program them, and the LSD was just part of it. They'd give them super strong doses.
There's no way that would work.
Yeah, I don't think it would.
Like, if they were on LSD and they were trying to, like, play a fucking movie for them, have you ever been on LSD and watched a movie? Good Lord.
It's not a movie. It'd be like a tape with, like, one phrase on it. It'd be like, kill the president, kill the president, kill the president. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever done LSD before, you would know that, like, it totally tampers with your motor skills, and there's like your perception and the way you take in information, your comprehension skills are like eliminated. And I just can't believe that would actually.
Yeah, I think if you heard one phrase over and over again,
that's more of a possibility, but I think you have better chances of having those phrases stick, or your mind control would probably have more of an impact if the person was asleep and not on LSD.
Yeah, I think it was LSD and a combination of drugs that put them to sleep.
Okay.
So they were kind of kept in like this drug-induced coma, and on LSD, and shock therapy, and played these phrases. And I had in there Ted Kaczynski, strong as evidence. He was linked in CIA documents that he was involved in this. But anyways, that's not all of it. So this is the fun one. So Operation Midnight Climax, the CIA had a brothel in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco. Basically, these patrons of this brothel would be dosed with LSD unwittingly, and then the CIA had a two-way mirror to watch them while they would do, who knows, all sorts of weird brain control experiments. And Charles Manson was a patron of this brothel, and also they had a clinic too, which was Charles Manson was a patron of. And recently saw the Charles Manson documentary on Netflix, and he was his parole agent kept him from getting in trouble for all these crimes. He kept committing all these crimes all over and over again, and what he had going on in Los Angeles would have been something like you couldn't even make up in a movie. He had the old set of a Western film with all these women that were just sleeping on the floor and following him like he was a cult leader. And he had got them to a point where they would murder with no remorse on command and not even have remembered how they did it or why they did it. And that was exactly what the CIA was trying to do. They were trying to make a cold-blooded killer that would just kill, no remorse, anybody on command, not even understand why they did it. And so people theorize that Charles Manson was more of an actor. He wasn't really an intelligent guy before he was Charles. This character that he was popularized. He was more just kind of a drug addict, and they took him, and he wrote all this stuff. His memos or whatever after he got caught and stuff. And it sounds really intelligent, but they're saying this guy's not really that intelligent. And maybe the CIA was doing something at this place, and they perfected their murder programming technique, and were using it to discredit the hippie movement. So he was the nail in the coffin for the hippie movement, because they, associated LSD with hippies, and they thought, at first at Woodstock you do LSD and you're all about peace and love and whoa, and then it turns out like, no, if you do LSD you might end up murdering people for no reason.
Yeah, you become a murderous pirate, to my understanding.
You become a murderous monster if you end up with the wrong people. And that was supposed to be the nail in the coffin for the hippie movement. And that's all I got to say about that. But a lot of interesting facts line up if you watch the documentary on Netflix.
Does that documentary, and I will check that out one of these days soon. Does it talk about that piece of it, the LSD? Oh, excuse me, let me back up. Does it talk about the government brainwashing him, giving him the LSD, and
the LSD
making
and the brainwashing is a big part of it. Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So they created a psychopath. Why do they hate us? Why does the government hate us? And maybe that's a bigger question that's beyond me. But
that's the overwhelming question that, I had to stop reading about conspiracy theories for a little while because the conspiracy theories just get too dark and too disturbing really quick. And
some can be fun, I'm sure.
Some are fun, like this LSD one. That's a little fun to talk about. The murder's not so much, but a little. We can joke about it. It was long enough ago, but some of them are just too dark. Like when you start talking about trafficking children and all this stuff, you don't want to. It's too dark. You don't want to hear about it. And there's always this overwhelming question of who and why are they doing this, and we don't know. I feel like we're powerless to know. It's outside of our hands to know that. We can only speculate.
And that's why we have a Twitch channel.
Yeah, that's why we can just sit here and speculate. That's the best we can do at this point.
Yes.
But unless we're sworn into the top secret top secrets, then we won't.
Well, if you play your cards right.
Not me. I'm not going to be sworn into the top secrets. Not now.
Could you imagine?
I smoke too much weed. I'm disabled already. I doubt it. I doubt it anymore.
I don't know why I'm laughing at your disability.
Yeah, well. I'd rather not be sworn into the secrets at this point, because at this point I can just learn the secrets just from the books I read and stuff, and I can still talk about it, even if when you read out of these books and stuff and secondhand research, you don't know what some of it's false, but it's still good to talk about and still. At least just air out that idea and see how if everybody feels it's real, because we can always speculate.
Yeah.
Joe, what are you doing?
I think he had to empty out his bucket. Is that correct, Joe? Oh, his lights came in.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna try that.
Sounds like he's underwater.
All right. Joe, if you don't have any more comments about MK Ultra, I'll move on. Yeah, your audio gone way wet. Yeah, it sounds like you're underwater. Way staticky. Maybe it's your connection.
I don't know. There was a large boom in the background.
A boom?
A couple minutes ago. And I think that's what distorted your audio, so I don't know if it moved your computer. Alright, I've been checking out our stream, so if you see that there's one viewer, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but it's me. I am the one viewer. But I've been monitoring the stream, and it's turning out pretty good.
How do you know? How do people find your stream?
You gotta advertise, Luke. I mean, you gotta post clips on your social media pages, on your Instagrams, on your TikToks, whatever you got, and then also you have your YouTube page. And so what you'll end up doing is you gotta link it all together, and you can link your accounts, your social media accounts, with your Twitch account. And then also, anytime you're about to go live, which we'll get into all that later, you'll just blast out a post that says, hey, check out my stream, getting ready to stream in an hour, 15 minutes, whatever it is. And we'll work on that. And, like I said, this is our first broadcast. And so if you are watching this video, you got this far, I guess this is our little intermission piece. But thank you for watching. We're only going to get better from this point, though.
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers. Cheers, Joe. Hey, what are you drinking, buddy? Yeah, you never did fix your microphone. Well, I almost what if you just mute it and then unmute it? Does that do anything?
Yeah.
Oh.
Say something.
Say something.
Good.
Yeah.
Back to normal. All right.
Okay. I switched the microphone to some other setting here.
What setting?
I can start hearing you guys better now too. I turned your guys' volume up so I can hear you better now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Now we're chatting. So, Luke, before we branch off too much, did you have a category that this stream is under? If we were searching,
this would definitely be conspiracy.
I think that's a good question though. What is your category?
Conspiracy and ufology.
Okay,
is that an actual category?
I don't know.
Because that's what Twitch does. They have categories you search for. There's one I used to do was just chatting, which is just people, they don't have any category or anything. It could be just dudes walking down the street talking to strangers. It could be somebody who's playing games. Or it could be girls in bikinis, whatever. It's anything.
Or two people just laying on the bed, fucking looking at their cell phones.
Yeah, literally that, and they get views.
A million fucking views, and you're you're not doing anything. Fucking look at me.
There's gotta be some way.
Yeah, that might be something to consider is getting a category under your channel. So people are.
I'll look into that. I'll look as we go on, but I'll go on my slides. And so,
all right.
Let's ask the question. Did the CIA smuggle drugs into the United States? Official internal investigation done by Congress found that no, but journalists and whistleblowers say yes. And they even made this kind of silly movie about it with Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr., Mr. Iron Man. And it's about them.
Is it silly?
Yeah, I guess it kind of is. But they make it silly, but it shouldn't be silly. But basically, what they're doing is they're taking these South American, Colombian cocaine drug lords and shipping their drugs into, I think, the United States, or another point that's going to go into the United States. But you shouldn't be smiling about that. I guess they make it silly.
So how did they ship it?
By a cargo plane.
UPS.
They had
a commercial.
Well, no, they just had a cargo plane. They loaded up.
I wish I watched the movie. I should just watch the movie.
I will.
I bet it's on YouTube.
So this idea of CIA drug dealers trace back to World War II. So in World War II, they made a deal with a French Corsican gang to smuggle things in during Nazi-occupied France. And they kind of turned a blind eye to their drug trade. There was a secret war in Laos. Okay, so to topple, so the CIA had these fun little wars all over the world without our total knowledge and the guise of toppling communism. And Laos was one of these, and it was funded by opium smuggling, which is what this movie's about. And also, what really gives credence, I think, to this idea is a PBS Frontline story over a DEA field agent, Hector Morales, who said that the CIA smuggled drugs, weapons, ammunition through military airports, through from our military bases, and then they sold the cocaine on U.S. streets and basically created the crack epidemic. So they took this cocaine, they were getting all this cocaine, they figured out, well, we can make this into crack, and people will love this, and they did, and it created a lot of problems for people, and
people started baking cakes with it.
Oh, I remember those days and baking my cakes in the bathroom.
Yeah, Luke was such a little baker back then.
I know.
With his little cakes in the bathroom.
You knew when you were baking a cake, you were spending all the cocaine all at once, but
that's a waste of money. That's so stupid. This shit's dumb. Don't do drugs, kids, because it's retarded.
Yeah.
And so is baking cakes. Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about.
But did you ever smoke crack?
No.
You never smoked crack?
No.
I smoked crack one time.
Did you?
One time, I don't know if I told you this story, but
I'm laughing.
I was really sick. I had a really bad cold when we were at our apartment. I like to take a bunch of cough medicine. I took a bunch of cough medicine. I went and laid down in my closet and basically passed out. I woke up. I walked out into our kitchen, and I think it was
CJ.
Yeah, it was like CJ. I think your brother was probably there.
Well, yeah, he was in my room.
Yeah, somewhere. And I think Bob or no. Yeah, CJ was there, but they're passing around that blunt, and I was like, yeah, I'll smoke this blunt with you guys, and I was just hanging with them. Oh, and it was one of these dudes' mom. Who's mom that hanged out with us? She was really.
It's not related to UFO in the know, Luke, so I'm not gonna talk too much about it.
Somebody's mom.
I remember like it was yesterday. Absolutely.
It was somebody's
mom was there.
And
you gotta keep everybody's aliases protected. Like,
okay, fair enough. And so we were passing around this blunt, and I smoked it. And I said, "Why does this blunt taste weird? It tastes like it's got glass in it or something weird." And they were like, well, that's a. No. I forgot what they called it. They have a name for it, but I was like,
it was a. Excuse me, sir. It was a. There's two terms. This one is a real mo.
Real mo. Yeah. Okay.
There's two terms. There's a primo and there's a real mo. And I learned this from a book I read. The real mo had cocaine mixed in with the weed in the blunt, and the primo had the crack in the blunt mixed and rolled up in a blunt. So I read.
So this is a primo. It had crack, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got high on crack, and then I was just really paranoid, and I said, I need to go rent some movies. I need to go rent. So I was like,
is that how that ended?
This was the time when you had to go to the video store to actually rent DVDs. And I went to, I think, Hollywood Movies high on crack.
Yeah.
And
high on crack. And then you brought whatever. What movie did you rent?
I don't remember.
Like you rented like Dances with Wolves, and you brought it up to the counter, and they're like, "Sir, you're clearly on crack."
Yeah, I was like, oh. I felt like it was out of space. Like it was just like, I don't know. It must have. It was late at night, so I guess they just were like, whatever. We get weird people in here all the time.
Yeah, it was you, and it was CJ, and it was somebody else. I don't remember who it was, but you were sitting in the kitchen, and you guys were kind of having your own party to yourselves. And then it was like 13 people in the bedroom, in my bedroom, and we were all in a circle, and that blunt was being passed around. And you came in there, and you demanded to hit that blunt. You're like, give me that shit. You're like, is that weed? You're like, give it to me. And we just gave it to you. You didn't know what was in it. You had no fucking clue that people mix crack in their blunts. Sometimes that's what people do. Whatever, to each their own. And you took a big old hit out of spite because you're like, fuck you people, like smoking this weed without me. Took a big old hit. And at that point, everybody just started busting up laughing. And you're like, what's so funny? And they're like, you smoked crack!
Yeah, you were always aggressive. I just remember one time at a party where you just walked up, snatched a beer bottle out of somebody's hand, you slammed it down, and you turn around and you go, and throw it all up. It's like, dude, that was my spit bottle.
Yeah, I remember that. That was my first party in high school, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes I just get aggressive for no reason. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you've mellowed out over the years.
Yeah, if you would have asked a little more politely, the results might have been a little bit different.
Yeah, you would have known you were drinking people's spitters or snot rocket cans or what have you.
That was pretty hilarious. Yeah, I remember that was like one of the first times I really got drunk and hung around people. That was a lot of fun. I mean, our high school parties were a lot of fun too.
Those were the days.
I remember jamming out to Korn with CJ. The Life is Peachy album in the car. And he would play the drums. I sit there and go, boom, and he would.
My favorite thing about CJ is whenever you'd party with him, he would be the first one to pass out. Like it'd be 11 p.m., and he would just fall asleep in his chair. And then he'd start doing this number.
I remember he wouldn't just pass out; he would like mumble nonsense, like about his girlfriend or whatever his name or name. He would just.
Well, I think he was grabbing boobs in his sleep.
Yeah, he liked to grab her boobies, and he would like to call out for her. Or it sounded like she didn't like him no more, and he was like trying to get her back, or. I can't remember her name, but he was like moaning for her, like this woman, like.
Yeah, well, once again, I want to protect people's aliases, but it was Tiffany.
yeah. I felt bad for him. I was like, oh man, what's wrong with this Tiffany?
No, and then he'd wake up to like an empty box of ho-hos in his arms. And like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, he was a character.
So we could we should start a podcast about our apartment.
Oh yeah, I mean you remember way more.
Your apartment.
Yeah, I would like to like. I don't mean to sound corny, but I would like to write a book or something just about that experience.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. I'll share the most I can remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that would be the other piece to it is, like, I need everybody's perspective. I mean, there's probably at least 20 people.
Oh, I hate to trail off on another story about that, but about me being aggressive. One time...
no, please do. It's great for our listeners to really know the person behind UFO in the know.
It was not...
Yeah, we're in the know now.
Yes. All right, go ahead.
Who is Pavel's big brother? I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. The bigger cheeks?
Chuck.
Chuck. Yeah, Chuck had a methadone pill, and this dang methadone pill was like this big. And I demanded he give me that methadone pill for
You're
some
supposed
reason.
to take like a quarter or
Yeah,
a half at
I
a
didn't.
time.
I didn't know that. I took the whole dang methadone pill, and oh my god, I threw up a lot of it. I remember I called into work the next day, and I was like, I remember. I don't remember what I told him. I told him some bullshit excuse, but I was like sounded so miserable. Like I remember. Disco Dan or Techno Dan was like, he's like, man, you sounded pretty authentic in your. I was like, yeah, that's shit. I took the whole day methadone pill. If I didn't throw it up, it probably could have killed me. Honestly, it was too much. It was too much.
Yeah.
But luckily, I threw up most of it. I think, and it still made me pretty sick. But I was fine. But don't mess around with that.
We only had that apartment for 6 months.
Wow, it seems like longer than that.
I know exactly. That's what I was getting ready to say. Like we only had that apartment for 6 months, and the amount of living that we did in that time is way more than a lot of people can say about their lifetime.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that. But yeah.
It was dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the shit that we did, like we're both like fortunate and lucky to be here, and I don't know how religious you are, but I think we were planned to be here. I think we were planned to have kids. Like even if it's not just us first-handedly, we have offspring now, and it was just meant to be. So
I was gonna say too, there's these really cute girls that were like underage that would come.
Okay, hang on, Luke.
They just hang. No, they would like come hang out. At one time, like I was just hanging out, like playing Halo on my lunch break at work. And this girl like hangs out. She's like underage, and she's like, "Can I watch you play Halo?" And I was like. And luckily, at that time, I was so awkward with girls. I was just like not getting all the hints, and it's just like, yeah, but I'm just gonna play Halo and go back to work, dude. Like, all right. And I kind of knew she was underage too. It's like I don't really.
No, we had a lot of people.
But I was only like 19 at the time.
We were at work,
and she was like 16, so it's not like it was that close.
Yeah, no.
It was like she was underage, but I was only like 19 at the time too. Mm-hmm. So it was, but I knew it was like it was still a crime to
talk to her
to like do anything sexual with her. So it's just I just felt really weird, but it was.
So did you not give her a controller? You didn't even give her a controller. That's how awkward you are.
I don't think she wanted to play because I was so serious about Halo. I was just like, I think she knew. She was like, if I played you, you just want my butt. Like. I was just like, yeah, I gotta get some Halo time in. I gotta get a little Halo time in while I'm on my break.
Yeah, rightfully so. Even until this day, I'm like, I gotta get some Halo in, or I am just worthless for the afternoon.
Just gotta check out from work and get a little Halo match in.
Yeah, but Halo Infinite, I did not like, for the record.
Yeah. They need to. Properly redo it.
I think they were supposed to. I don't know. I thought Microsoft was going to sell all their properties and Halo was going to be on Nintendo, which would be a dream come true.
Oh, wow. Really? That would be good.
That's what I've heard. It's probably just another video game.
I know they stepped up the graphics on the Switch too. It's basically just like a Switch with like a PS5 graphics level almost.
Yeah, they seem to be a generation behind. They're like the new Sega.
No, I wouldn't say that. They've been ahead of the game.
I don't know, man. It's like you see that fucking console, and they do have new games coming out, but then they're like, oh, look what you can play now. And it's like, I can already play that on the PS5, so like...
But, I mean, for them, it's not just about it's not just about graphics. It's about an immersive
Well,
gameplay, and I feel
well,
like
that's
they
the other
dropped the
issue
ball.
there, Luke. Oh, what? Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
They're innovative. They don't go for graphics. They go for just something new, basically. I remember the Wii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my stink with that though. Like, there's no fucking difference other than the graphics. Like, as far as being innovative goes, like on the Switch 2, it's the same Joy-Cons. Yeah, they connect differently via magnets, but it's the same concept.
Yeah, there's no innovation there via the physical interaction. No.
They're literally just trying to improve what they have currently.
Yeah.
And I think they are trying to stay on top of the handheld market because that's what they're good at.
Yeah.
And that will definitely put them way ahead of anything PlayStation has. I have the PlayStation Portal, and without the internet, it's nothing. There's also rumors about a new PlayStation Portable console. But anyways, like, my whole point is, Nintendo has the upper hand on that market. And the fact that they can, I think, like, by having higher graphics on their console, it will allow more developers to produce more video games for content for that device. But it's like that content's already out. With the exception of new Mario Kart. But God damn it, how many fucking Mario Karts do I need? I think I just get... I'm a collector, and I don't know if you can see it in my screen. I'm going to, like, move my monitor. But, like, there's, like, my fucking video games right there. At least, like, half of them. And I don't know how many more video games I can buy. And, and maybe it's just me and my own personal opinion, but I'm kind of fatigued on it. And I don't see a need in rebuying anything for Switch 2. That is all.
I mean, the market's totally different nowadays, especially with the classics. I've recently just started dabbling into my collection here. I've got this Game Eye app that has my entire collection, so when I am out shopping, I know what I have. But a lot of it's just like, I'm going to buy it, it's going to sit on the shelf. I'm going to be like, hey, that's great, but what am I going to do with it?
It's going to sit on the shelf. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks ago, for like the 5th fucking time, I bought Metal Gear Solid. And I haven't opened it yet. I haven't played it. I just beat it like maybe a year ago, like for the 3rd time. I bought the collection, to be specific.
Oh
yeah.
You know who does the best of all these like indie and classic games is Steam. Steam is ahead of the game with that stuff. They realize there's still a market for a lot of these classic games, and
I got my 2 copies.
Yeah,
I asked Scott like 8 times if he had it.
And your Final Fantasy. I'm like, no, dude, I don't have your games, man. Like, I wouldn't.
I'm glad I got the Chrono Trigger back. It's like $250 now. Okay. Yeah, I'm going through Twitch right now, and I forget that they got these promo codes you can claim.
So I see your Metal Gear, but I have a green label, so I don't know if that is a deal breaker. But then I'll raise you with Twin Snake.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a collectible right there on the GameCube. Good shit. That's probably the best one to play, to be honest with you.
Look, GameCube, the prices on those are very, those are spiked. Xbox is cheap, but GameCube's expensive.
Nintendo, they never drop their prices. That should be their tagline.
Even in the used market.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like games that are over 20 years old. All right, Luke, I apologize if we derailed.
No, it's fine.
The conversation at hand.
No.
Start
Somehow we
talking
started
video
talking about
games.
crack, and then we started talking about video games.
Yeah.
Well,
I created a video game for crack.
Yeah.
So some things go hand in hand. I'm just kidding. Well, maybe.
So this this is more evidence of CIA drug smuggling. One thing I'll say about this is in the early on in the Iraq War, the on the news they covered that the military was protecting these opium farms for the farmers, and they said it was to protect their livelihood because they made a living selling opium. They couldn't, I don't know, risk them losing their livelihood. But there's also allegations that the CIA just used that opium for their drug smuggling operations. This is more just kind of going into the same thing. I don't think we need to comment more on that. I'll go into the next slide. Is the government still committing atrocities? I guess that's what we've kind of been tagging on. So is the government still selling drugs? There have been like recent allegations of like the CIA will take over on an FBI operation to stop drug smuggling into the United States, and then they'll just accidentally ruin it and sabotage it, and the drugs will just go ahead and get into the United States anyway. I have heard of something like stuff like that happening, and so I guess we have to think about that. And I'll preface this: I'm right next to Baltimore, and my wife is from Baltimore, and they're closely affected by the fentanyl in the, it's not just fentanyl. Before that was OxyContins and stuff too, but it's an epidemic and across especially the eastern United States, but all over the United States, and the fentanyl is especially deadly because it's just even just a small dose of fentanyl could be deadly it is deadly to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to wonder who's involved in that. And fentanyl seems kind of insidious in the first place that should even get out to people at all because it's so dangerous and deadly.
My wife recently had a baby, and they hooked her up to the epidural, and I just happened to read her bag. They didn't say it by name by any means. They didn't really say what was in the epidural. The epidural is just the idea of the needle going into her back, into her spine and releasing the medicine. But I swear to God, they never once said what that medicine was, and it was fentanyl. I just happened to read the bag, and I'm like, damn, girl.
Oh. How did she feel? She's like all messed up.
It wasn't as strong as you would think. I mean, yeah, like she had a baby, but she ended up doing a C-section, and therefore they had to change the fentanyl to I forget what they give you for that. But that really makes you paralyzed from like the chest down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. It's not like she was in a daze though.
Oh, okay. I guess if they keep the fentanyl dose super low, it wouldn't. It'd have to be. It's so fentanyl is so powerful. Even just a tiny bit could be fatal. So they have to super dilute it, I guess.
Well, that's true. That's true. They gotta watch the dosage.
Yeah.
So, that leads us with is this our closing question?
Yeah, kind of. How long have we been going on? An hour and 20 minutes?
Hour and a half or so.
Wow, that went by fast. I didn't realize we've been talking that long.
Hour and 18, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we could close on that. I kind of hit on some conspiracies that verge on conspiracy fact. I feel like some of them are conspiracy fact, like MK Ultra, and COINTELPRO, and Tuskegee experiment are just straight up facts. And I guess the whole the question was like how much fucked up shit is the government doing, and in the past it was pretty bad, and we can only speculate about the future or modern day. If there's anything like that, that if there is any modern day equivalent to one of those things I mentioned, I don't think that there'd be any way for us to know it. They would have at this point they would probably find out how to move those kind of projects to private hands, to where it's a private contractor that's doing that, so there's no record within the federal government that can be foiled. And yeah, we can only speculate that are those sort of things, did that trend continue into the future, or did the CIA and all of a sudden just decide to be ethical? We can only speculate, but my guess is no, they didn't decide to be ethical.
Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what they're doing?
Exactly.
I don't
That's
know.
why we can only speculate.
Are there any good documentaries, books on tape that you can recommend to further explore that idea?
That's a good question. There's so many rabbit holes to go down to like. I was very tempted to put in 9/11 into this, but I didn't want to because it's still too controversial to talk about. Mm-hmm. I feel like as a conspiracy,
there's always next week,
and that'll be a whole episode on itself. We'll talk about the 9/11 stuff out there. But as far as like in general, things about the government, listen to Eisenhower's speech about the military-industrial complex before he left, and then think about what that military-industrial complex is doing now. That's all I would say. I don't know a good documentary offhand that would encompass that whole topic in depth. But like I said, there's a good one on the MK Ultra and Charles Manson on Netflix.
Yeah.
These drug smuggling. There was a couple of these movies that I mentioned in my slides, which I haven't even watched yet. But I feel like some of this stuff is like it's not public knowledge, but people kind of know. Like, yeah, we know they're doing that.
Not conspiracy related, but I am currently watching, I believe it's called Alien Investigation on Netflix. Investigation Alien.
I probably saw that one, but I don't remember offhand what every episode is about.
Well, the first episode was about the animal mutilations that are going on, and they actually went to Oregon, and there was 2 separate sites, 4 to 6 hours away from one another, totally disassociated farmers that were reporting the same thing happened. Basically, they would go out to the field and they would find this cow, and the cow is missing its mouth or it's missing its udders. And it's like there's no blood in the site, like on the scene. And they said, well, this is impossible for somebody to do this precise incisions on these animals, take their body parts. Other cows were just left with bones.
Yeah, a lot of
but
times
there's no blood.
Their buttholes bored out in this pattern.
It takes their not just their organs, but their reproductive parts and just other parts. Mm-hmm. And they're like, so I guess the conspiracy is, believe it or not, that aliens are abducting the animals, taking them up to their craft, doing what they're doing, removing the mouths and the udders and what have you, and then they are returning the remains back down to Earth. So I don't know. I found that pretty interesting. Like I said, it was happening in 2 different sites up in the state of Oregon, and one person was a firm believer that this is aliens. Like, aliens are doing it. His son saw these beings off in the distance when they just happened to be out there. I don't know what camera they used to record it. That's all the details, I guess, that makes you believe it or disbelieve it. And then the other person's like, no, I think this is just a group of people. They're effing these animals up.
Well,
and
I have a comment on that. So the deeper conspiracy is that it wasn't aliens, that it was humans with alien reproduction vehicles that were staging.
Really? Humans got a hold of alien technology?
No, humans are reverse engineered the technology long ago in the 40s or 50s, and now they are conducting experiments under the guise of humans. Okay, go ahead, yeah. Okay.
Why does everything have to happen in the 1950s?
Because that's when that was the start of the atomic era. Also, the Roswell crash, and those 2 events kind of coincided to create an environment of super secrecy, that where we had developed the atomic bomb, and the Russians eventually did get their own atomic bomb through our infiltrating us, and so they said, well, with this alien UFO topic, we're going to deal with that in super secrecy, even more secret than the atomic secrets. And so it developed this environment of super secrecy where everything kind of goes dark after that, and things within the government become inaccessible to anyone.
I just find it interesting that it seems like a coincidence that everything kind of spawns out of that decade. And then there hasn't, well, never mind. I was going to say there hasn't been any updates to that, but that's a lie. I mean, there's been other reports on alien beings and alien technology throughout the 90s and before that, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's been all kinds of whistleblowers all throughout the decades, and I feel like that's also what gives this UFO topic so much credence is, if this was just a silly sci-fi idea, why are we still talking about decades? After every single decade, we have new whistleblowers and new, people that write books about it, and whether they're entirely honest, like, they're all kind of telling a very similar story over this decades and decades and decades. And as strange as it is, and as hard as it is to accept that the government could hold that level of secrecy upon us, I think we're in the day and age that we have to come to the realization that they can hold that level of secrecy upon us. Where a huge right, if we found out that aliens were visiting us, that would change history. That would be one of the biggest, revelations in human history, right? And if they could hide that from us, what else could they hide? And I think that's a good way to. I think that's a good way to end this video, to cap this off, because I said the world is a stage, right? So if they could hide, that fact from us, then could they be orchestrating an entire narrative for us to just basically follow and talk about? And that's why I don't like to talk about politics. I don't like to talk about Trump or Biden, because I feel like, what if that's just a narrative that's almost like a TV show that you're just following, and whether what happens, it's not really even up to us at all in any means, even by a vote. You have no power, so you just have to sit here and go along with it and try to figure out best what's going on.
Well, Luke, maybe that's how you want to end it, but I would like to end it with some trivia questions. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, guys. Joe, are you still there?
I believe so.
Okay. Hello there.
All right. Hello.
All right, let me ask you this. What's the name of the alien in the 1979 film Alien?
The name of the alien.
Yes, in the 1979 film Alien. What is the name of the alien? That big black thing. Hey, get your phone. Put your phone in your goddamn pocket. All right, Luke,
Yes. Hands are clean. Alien.
Can he call a friend?
Hey, just go ahead. All right, somebody, you guys are the contestants. Luke, if you want to answer, go ahead.
Oh, yes, to select call a friend option.
I'm not hearing the answer.
I don't remember her name.
Okay, well, all right. So the answer...
No,
Go ahead,
that's it.
Go ahead.
A xenomorph.
Good job. Yay!
Xenomorphs.
Oh,
Good
I thought
job,
you meant like
Steve.
a personal name. Not the name of the type of the
The
alien.
name of the species. Huh?
What is the name of the
Yeah.
alien? I don't know. They didn't call him Peter or Roger.
That's what I was.
All right, well, we're moving on, Joe.
Nancy
Give it
or
up.
something like that.
Give it up, Joe.
All right.
Which U.S. president was rumored to have met aliens, according to conspiracy theories? I'll read it one more time. Which U.S. president was rumored to have met aliens, according to conspiracy theories?
I don't know.
Do you know, Luke?
Yeah,
Who was it?
Eisenhower.
Yeah, good job. Yes. Hooray! All right. Okay. Dang. Buddy, you're fucking 2 for 2. Okay, what planet is Superman originally from?
That's too easy.
All right, Joe, go ahead if it's too easy. Come on, Joe.
I'm not the trivia guy here.
Superman's planet. There's so many Superman movies.
Oh, there's like, what is it? There's 7 of them?
Luke, you're on my team.
It's Krypton.
Krypton. Good job, Joe.
Thanks.
Okay.
You got a team.
What does UFO stand for?
Unidentified flying object.
Hey, good job. You got one. You got one.
It did
What about
something.
UAP?
Okay. Did you say? What did you say?
I said, what does UAP stand for?
UAP.
Yeah, UAP.
Unidentified area phenomenon.
Yeah, that's the new term.
Wow.
I'll go into why they
Why they changed
picked a
it?
new term.
Okay. Well, that'll be on the next
Yeah,
episode.
well, later on.
What year did the Roswell incident occur, sparking major UFO theories?
I know
What
this
year? What year?
Well, I think we're in the 50s, right?
Too. No.
We'll just say
Close.
1950.
No.
Take 3 years away from that, Joe.
1950?
I said take 3 years from that.
I said 53.
No, minus 2. Minus from 53.
Oh, I thought you said 1950s. No, the answer is 1947.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I have a poster on it.
Actually, I visited Roswell and did a tour with he wanted to be called a researcher, not an expert.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean.
Well, I think Luke agrees with that term too, right, buddy?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really know. We just want to ask the questions, and maybe we'll find the answer.
Yeah, he's a researcher.
Fascinating. In E.T. the Extraterrestrial, what candy does Elliot use to lure E.T.?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's been a long time since I've seen
I can picture it now. What candy? And in fact, I'm pretty sure it actually put that candy on the map by being in that movie.
I'm going to just throw it out there and say it was a Pez.
Incorrect. Luke, guess?
Was it Reese's?
It was Reese's Pieces.
Oh, Reese's Pieces. Yeah.
It was Reese's Pieces.
Also known as Reese's Pieces.
If you will. If aliens abduct a cow, what kind of experiment are they rumored to be doing? We just talked about it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, correct. You are correct. Mysterious animal mutilation studies. Yes, that's a real thing in folklore. Which organ do aliens supposedly prefer to abduct and examine according to classic urban legends? So which organ do aliens supposedly prefer to abduct? Joe, any guesses?
Either buttholes or brains.
Okay, if you were to pick one.
Okay, if you say buttholes, I'm gonna tell you why that urban legend is buttholes. Okay, so
why?
That urban legend started with Whitley Strieber, who wrote Contact, who is one of the famous popularized the version of the Greys, where everybody sees them. They had a picture of it, and he said that basically they probed his butthole, right? And they did all kinds of stuff to him, and he was basically like humiliated the rest of his life and called the butthole probe guy for the rest of his life. And I actually talked to Whitley Strieber on TikTok one time. He's really nice, and I read a lot of his books. And
really,
I don't like to. I feel bad for him in all this butthole probe myth stuff, and he's got a lot of crazy stories, and so yeah, I understand why it's butthole probe, but I don't. I wouldn't say that. I'd be nice to and say I don't know, but I don't know. He says he got his butthole probe.
Brains. The answer is brains.
The answer is brains. Good job, Joe. Yes, the answer is brains.
Okay.
Which TV show features the alien Roger who lives with the Smith family?
That's American Dad.
Yeah.
Good job, Joseph. Okay, you guys ready for one final question? We'll do two more. Which galaxy is Earth located in?
The Milky Way.
That is correct, Joe. That is correct.
All right, Luke's got the last one.
Okay, we'll try this one. We'll call this the Daily Devil. What's the term for the hypothetical aliens that live inside the Earth?
Is it reptilians?
It is not.
Oh.
It's not as complex or folklore, that you would think it would be. What is
it lizard people or something along the lines of that?
It is not.
It's not skinwalkers, is it?
It is not.
Okay.
No. Let me know when you're ready for the answer. What's the term for the hypothetical aliens that live inside the Earth?
If it's
Is
not
this
lizard
a hint
people,
from the Men in Black?
I don't know.
Answer: Inner Earth beings or Hollow Earth aliens.
That's not even an answer. That's a non-answer.
That is the answer.
That is a
And
nondescript answer.
this quiz is brought to you by ChatGPT.
That's a very nondescript answer, and anything could fall
Okay.
into that career. I can say they were reptilians, or I can say they were
Okay. Well, let me ask the viewers on YouTube or Twitch, how did you do on the quiz? But Luke, you did pretty well. I think you were. I don't know how many questions I asked. I didn't count. But
if the answer was one of our ex-girlfriends, that answer is also correct.
I once had an ex-girlfriend with a super massive black hole.
Yeah.
Super massive.
Yeah, you gotta stay away from those. They really suck you right in. All the light out of you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Hey, Luke, play our outro. Play our song. I will say thanks for having us on your podcast. I hope to be here next week. And yeah, I hope to further, investigate, dive into this conversation of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I got a lot of different topics I want to explore. Almost everything under the paranormal category or conspiracy category, which is a very huge topic. There's a lot of things.
Play us out.